Hello horror fans and welcome to another episode of Silver Screams. Tonight, guys, it is such a pleasure to be talking to you about the season 2 premiere of Scream Queens.
Tonight, we're gonna have ourselves a real good time. I feel alive. And the world is turning inside out. I don't know why I started that, but I'm having a good time.
Having a good time.
Having a good time.
So, speaking of the 80s,
okay.
Really quick before we get into our episode, Katie, do you wanna show everyone what you're drinking?
I made this by accident, but I'm very happy with it.
It was so applicable, and I'm wearing green, and this is just what I wore today. This is so great. So
We're good at this.
So okay, so we need to dive into the episode.
Not to derail,
obviously.
too late.
But like talking about a little bit, we were big fans of season 1, and season 1 was great, but it also is self-contained and is wrapped up. And we've already expressed our disappointment in the fact that this is not an anthology series. We
would have been 100% down with an anthology series.
Absolutely.
That would have been fantastic.
But since we are taking the same characters and just arbitrarily picking them up and putting them from the college environment to the med school environment, and by med school, I mean actual really messed up hospital.
Teaching hospital.
Guys, the regular...
It also has a history. Like quit going into places with this awful, awful history. Just stop.
Well, the through line is Dean Munch, and she, of course, has very mysterious circumstances and reasons and such for purchasing this hospital and bringing the cure
it a
program.
hospital for incurable diseases with the goal to cure them, and bringing in Zayday personally, and just all sorts of fun stuff.
And it makes me wonder. I'm a little bit sad because Grace and her dad are just...
They deserve some peace.
Which is fine. It's
Then
totally
again,
fine.
so does Zayday.
So does Zayday. And I actually do, even though it's sad to see Grace go, I like that Zayday seemingly is our new focal point. Because, let's face it, this is just the first episode. Things may change later on down the road. But
Watch
I like...
Grace show back up in episode 6 for like a cameo and then be like, okay.
Goodbye forever! But I like that Zayday is our focal point now. Because she was such a fun character from season 1. But what I wanted to talk, before we talk about any of the other characters, I want to talk a little bit about the Green Meanie. Because
1985.
And we talked about this off camera. This is obviously a TV hospital. This place would not exist in the real world.
We went straight Ryan Murphy to begin with. Like, well, we don't do anything on Halloween, and I can't believe we have to miss the party to perform a life save. No. Okay, now that we've gone full Ryan Murphy, let's continue.
But let's talk about kind of similarities to season 1 right off the bat. We have our mascot villain, which in this season is the Green Meanie, which, not gonna lie, he kind of looks like... Did you ever watch Goosebumps? Or read Goosebumps?
Which one?
He kind of looks like the monsters from Welcome to Horrorland because of the horns and the scales. And I'm only just now realizing it as I'm talking about it, but those things looked really silly. Granted, this one can get away with it because we know it's a dude in a costume.
Yeah.
But those things looked really silly.
This costume is like there's green ooze everywhere. This is not a subtle costume. This is not a get in, get out costume. This is not like the Red Devil where you can have it hanging in your closet. This is something that requires a setup and leaves a trail.
And yes, and whether or not that is an intentional... it sounds like it's an intentional aspect of the design because we have our Scooby-Doo villain here who wants to come in, leave a mess, leave a false trail, and then just disappear. So I understand that to an extent. On the other hand, we also may very well be dealing with the fact that maybe this isn't a person in a costume, maybe this is a supernatural killer. Probably not, like, at all, because at at no point has that ever been established in this show before.
Well, and we have the whole, he's sedated and he's thrown into the swamp, but he's not dead. We didn't bother making sure that he was dead.
He can meet up with Brandon James in terms of people who have just been
much.
tossed into a lake and just assumed dead.
And they threw in the costume after him, like, oh, we have to get rid of your costume. It's very, what was it? Very unique?
Specific.
Specific, thank you.
And also
so
Jerry O'Connell, Jerry, just press the button and go into the next dimension to get away from this problem. Because that's the only way you're really going to get away from it.
Yeah, so they just threw him in the lake and left him to die and falsified the paperwork. And we had his pregnant wife and unborn son as of about 21 years ago.
Yes, that was 1985.
And this is supposed to be 2016.
Is this supposed to be 2016?
31 years ago. Yeah, they did say 20.
Okay.
I'm good at math.
It's okay. No, I'm just wondering, like, is it supposed to take place in this year?
No, they gave the year when they went back to the present.
Okay, great.
It is 2016. I mean, they made a reference to the Zika virus.
Yeah, Zika. Is it Zika or Zika?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
That one with the mosquitoes.
It's a coin toss. You know, pick whichever one you want. But yeah, and so that brings up another similarity, is we have a child. In the first season, we had the twins. And in this season, it's this unborn baby, and we don't know the story.
Son.
Yes.
We know that it's a boy.
Well, we know that they think it's a boy. Ultrasounds back then weren't always the best. Like, my older brother, they thought he was going to be a girl. And that was also in the 80s. So
my parents knew both of ours, and that was in the 80s.
It just, sometimes surprises happen. I don't know. But assuming that it's a boy... so that's another thing. We have another unborn child, and so that's another kind of through line that we have here. We have people seemingly getting away with murder or with a crime. Or, yeah, this is a huge malpractice case, to say the least. But the thing is that we don't have all the details. We just have this initial act. We don't know how the rest of the details sort of shook out. We don't know what happened to the wife and the son. We don't even know what happened to this guy because he was still alive when they dumped him.
But we are the 4th performing hospital out of 4 in the city, and they've discovered that things happen because of this awful toxic stuff back here.
And we don't know the current ties from these, this doctor and this nurse who committed these acts to what we have here in the present. And we don't know anything about Dean Munch's involvement and why she feels the need to continue. Because back for the school, it made sense. She was the dean. She had motive for covering it up. What was her previous connection to this hospital, or what opportunity did she see with this hospital that made getting involved seem like a good idea?
We will eventually find out, because it's Dean Munch.
She's always got schemes.
She does.
Yep, lots of schemes. So
she also beat up a masked killer, and I would love to see that happen again.
Oh yeah.
Like, I am down for a repeat performance. Sign me up.
Absolutely. No, that was one of the highlights of season 1, was just beating up both of them. And that's another question. Is this masked killer that we have here working alone, or working with an accomplice or several accomplices?
I am immediately going to assume multiple people.
Excuse me.
Oh, no worries. Until proven otherwise.
I would actually like it to be one person just to shake things up. I would like it to be one person because maybe it's just because Scream has us trained, both the movies and the TV show, to suspect multiple people working at once. But I would actually like to see the creativity go into one person having to do all the things that they have to do in order to make these murders happen.
I would say then you'd have to worry about keeping it within the realm of physical possibility, but it's Ryan Murphy. Nah. You know what I'd love to see? A family thing. The dad that they think drowned, the pregnant mother, and their now 30-something child.
Yeah.
Or son, I guess. Potentially daughter.
No, that would be great.
I would love to
just
see murder be the family business.
And be like the family sideshow Bob. Like, that's what happened in The Simpsons
Sideshow
eventually.
family.
Aww. Vendetta for my poppy.
I don't ever remember seeing that.
You haven't seen that one. It was cute.
amazing.
It was cute.
We have nurse practitioner Hoffel, who we know very little about, but who is a prime suspect, obviously.
Played by Kirstie Alley, who so good to see her in this, in all honesty. I think she's fun. I think that she's going to be a fun character. And she clearly has her own motives and schemes, aside from what Dean Munch has in store.
And I mean, it's not the Chanels. It's not Zayday. Aside from that?
Well, we're also making an assumption, too, that a recurring character from last season could not be the killer of this season. I don't want to make that mistake again. Blatant reference to other show that I wasn't going to mention for spoiler reasons, but I don't want to make that mistake again. Spoiler alert! Oops. Sorry.
Again, it's not the Chanels and it's not Zayday because we have the Chanels' backstory inside and out. There's no reason for them to have been involved in this hospital.
You know who's coming that we haven't seen yet?
Who?
Or that we only saw in a video clip?
Who?
Hester.
That's true.
The former Red Devil who doesn't know what double jeopardy means.
Someone got convicted, so it's double jeopardy. No.
You haven't been tried.
It's single jeopardy.
But again, you haven't been tried. It's double jeopardy.
They went full making a murder. It was Catch a Kappa Kappa. Bless you. I love that. Whoever came up with that title, I hope you got a raise.
I was going to say, I think that was the biggest laugh the episode got from you the entire episode.
Catch a Kappa Kappa. And you know, Netflix documentaries. I mean,
well, and even
not Cracked did. Was it Cracked or was it College Humor that did that bit about hate watching for Netflix?
Oh, cringe watching.
Cringe watching. Yes,
that was College Humor. College Humor a little while ago did a
Go
sketch
look it up.
about cringe watching because so many shows on Netflix are just uncomfortable because you know if it's not work, it's not good TV. It's not work to get through. It's not good TV.
See, I just prefer the shows that emotionally compromise me and leave me a sobbing mess. That's why I'm a Voltron fan.
There's something to be said about that, though, in terms of, like, being just emotionally wrecked and, like, just being addicted to what you're seeing. And, like, I mean, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and a lot of people, for a lot of people, Making a Murderer, I have not watched it yet, so...
For me, it's like... There's always going to be like a couple of things where like I'm into it and I'm kind of into it on the periphery and then they're like, by the way, we have more. And I just collapse into a heap. Voltron has turned into one of those. Kingdom Hearts has been one of those for the past 13 years of my life.
That's over a decade.
That's a deep well, ladies and gentlemen. And it's just like, we have a new thing and I'm like immediately compromised. I'm dying.
It's really
out
bad.
Of frame.
I mean, it's really bad when you really get into a new show that's just starting, as opposed to like coming across a show when it's several seasons in and or like already completed. Like
it's like getting emotionally invested in Firefly.
Oh,
I will keep going back to that well because that's a reference everyone understands.
Or if I were to sit down and, at the risk of being supremely judged, if I were to sit down and watch Breaking Bad now, because I haven't watched it yet, but a lot of people like would just whoosh get immediately sucked into it. Anyway, everybody knows what binge and cringe watching are now. Let's get back to this show because we do have the return of the Chanels. And I've got to say, in comparison with the way they bring them in compared to how Zayday is brought in, both are brought in by Dean Munch. But I really liked the contrast because Dean Munch genuinely feels like she needs Zayday, or at least it seems like it. And they sit down and have a talk, like kind of on equal footing.
Relatively equal, yeah.
Which is interesting because Dean Munch, I feel like, doesn't shoot straight with people very often.
No.
And she sees potential in Zayday that I think, you know, to be honest, we see too. Like, she's a very interesting character, and she is busting her ass trying to do some good in the world.
I mean, we have, because otherwise she has a last chance doctor, Handy, whatever his name is.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
And the stunning, hilarious nihilist doctor.
I run cold. You know what that is?
He might be dead.
That's Jacob playing Edward.
God damn it. I'm so happy right now.
Are you?
I am. That's
I would think that
hilarious.
any reference to Twilight would just make you sad.
That's hilarious.
Well, that being said, Twilight aside, Taylor Lautner is a very funny, very talented actor. Very good looking too. But again, he actually does really have good comedic timing and very good understanding of what makes a comedic performance.
I'm sorry, I think the silence is a good way to deal with the desolate loneliness that spreads out from us all. Or whatever that line was, I don't even remember. It was amazing.
Esoteric nonsense. It's so wonderful.
Extremely nihilist.
Apart from, want to go out? Yeah, I guess.
That was... I like to sit here and think about all the people who have died in these rooms, all of their hopes and dreams and fears snuffed out in the second that their heart stopped beating. Do they go on a date?
Yeah, I guess. Which, honestly, they are a match made in heaven.
They
or hell.
Are.
One
It's
of the two.
Hilarious.
Yeah, they look, at least from this initial episode, they look like they were made for each other. And I like that.
Yeah.
I like that we have somebody who can match Chanel number 3's just... I don't even have a word for it, just...
Yeah, but we have, the Chanels have been exonerated, but they've also still been disowned by their families, and the world thinks they're terrible people because, surprise, surprise, they are.
They are. They're pretty awful.
So they've been, let's see, number 5 is a receptionist in a low-income dental clinic. Number 3 is a janitor, essentially, in a sperm donation facility. And Chanel Prime works at a blood bank. And is actually getting good at the whole needle in the arm thing. That's gonna come back. There's no way that it's not.
I feel like they only... First of all, I feel like they only gave these girls these jobs as a kind of...
excuse.
As an excuse to retrofit every character into the hospital setting.
Yeah.
Which... Okay, yeah, whatever. If we're not going to go with the anthology, I am okay with just coming up with an excuse to put us in a new setting. I'm alright with that. It's okay.
But I am expecting Chanel Prime's knowledge of drawing blood to come back.
Honestly, I think it was just for the joke. I honestly think it was just for the joke of I'm really good at poking people.
I'm sorry. I'm used to shows with writing that doesn't waste anything.
I'm also getting used to this show that also will take a potential plot line and throw it away for a one-liner.
When did that happen last time?
I can't give you a specific example right now, but that's something the show would do. Take a potential plot line and throw it away for just a one-liner that would either get a laugh or act as shock value. Which is totally fine because we know what show we're watching. Yeah. We watched it for an entire season and we liked it. We genuinely liked it, so it's okay. And I'm okay with all of those things.
It's just getting back into the Ryan Murphy of it all.
It really
takes a little bit of getting used to.
It does take a little bit. And this is where I was talking to you off screen about I wish we went ahead and had episode number 2 already for us to kind of dig into, because last season we had the wonderful benefit of getting 1 and 2 on the same night, and we're watching on Hulu, so we didn't get that, so that's unfortunate. But I don't even think the regular airings.
No, if 1 and 2 had been available, Hulu would have had them both.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a shame that we didn't get the second one and that we were left on this kind of pseudo cliffhanger, because we know Chanel number 5 is fine. Probably.
Do we?
Probably.
Do we?
Looking again at you and TV scream about killing off off characters from season 1 in the first episode.
Yeah, if they want to go full on, no one is safe. The easiest thing to do is to take out someone from the previous season, and let's face it, number 5 is kind of the expendable one.
I don't think that's going to happen, though, because Chanel number 5... not because Chanel number 5 is important in and of herself, and I feel genuinely bad for her, because she gets probably shit on more than any other character. But the thing is that the Chanels are a trio.
That's true.
And taking one away so early changes the dynamic, and they would immediately have to fill that slot in order for the Chanels, to keep functioning in the way that they function. So I don't think she's dead. And also, we want to play up as many suspects as humanly possible.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm also kind of sad we didn't... Well, I'm sure we'll get in the next episode. I'm really looking forward to seeing the new opening. Because if you go back to the original opening of season 1, knowing what you know after the events of season 1, you can very easily tell who did what. Because they were pretty shameless about going
telegraphing
wink to the camera.
It's like
literally
anime openings. It's like anime openings.
Curse you!
I just keep thinking of Sword Art Online.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Curse you, Sword Art Online, for giving away everything and then learning something in Sword Art Online 2, but still giving away too much.
And then Gun Gale giving away everything once again.
That's what I meant, yeah. Because at least they kept something close to the chest. For those of you who don't watch SAO,
really?
You have no idea what I'm talking about. Well, I'm talking about the laughing coffin bit.
Oh, that bit.
They kept that close to the chest, but telegraphed everything else. How dare you? How dare you, awesome anime opening. That being said, you're not going to know what we're talking about right now. Although you should watch SAO 2. Not necessarily all of SAO 1. Watch the first half.
We'll talk about that.
That's a different thing. But if you like Masked Killers, SAO 2, the first arc, is a fun watch. Just talking about Masked Killers.
So it'll be one of those few times SAO does something right.
So do we want to talk about John Stamos?
Let's talk about John Stamos.
Let's talk about John Stamos.
Let's talk about John Stamos.
Oh, John Stamos. Because a good decade after
Handy.
A good decade after I watched Full House, we're still talking about John Stamos. I like it.
And we have season 2 of Fuller House.
Which I have not watched, but we have a very interesting, and I was actually really surprised that they just went ahead and told us his backstory right away. Because I kind of thought that when they showed his scars, they were going to tease that out a little bit more, and then they're like, nope, here's his backstory.
I feel like the backstory is the least important thing about that hand. I think we have a full-on Evil Dead possessed thing going on.
I referenced a movie that you haven't seen yet, called Idle Hands.
Why do you say yet as though I'm going to watch it?
You're not.
No, this is not happening.
You're not. It's fine.
Not happening.
It's a horror comedy. Basically, what happens? It's starring actually Seth Green. He's in the movie. He's not the main character, but in the story, the laziest individual in the world, who's guilty of the mortal sin of sloth, his hand gets possessed essentially by the devil. And it's a movie called Idle Hands. And so his hand starts committing murders, and he's comedically trying to do everything he can to sort of avert this.
I've actually seen this.
Not the whole thing. With Jessica Alba?
Chunks of it.
When did you see Idle Hands?
It was on TV a while ago.
But it is a genuinely funny movie. At one point, the evil hand kills Offspring, the band. It's great. It is a really funny movie, but the second he had that scene with Chanel where his hand just seems to start moving on its own, I'm like, oh snap, we got an Idle Hands scenario on our hands.
I feel like
I'm very upset with
you really
myself.
put your finger on that one. You feel like it's an Abby Normal sort of scenario with
Abby someone?
Abby someone. where they got the hand from. We're going to do the body parts of a person retain the personality of the person, which, okay.
I'm sure, because we know nothing about
Ryan
his donor.
Murphy.
We know nothing about his
So
hand
I'm sure
donor.
his donor
after
was
this.
like a serial killer or something, and that's where they got the hand, because if the person's dead, they're not using it anymore. Here you go. By the way, it's a murderer's hand.
Or
something.
Or he's just a terrible guy who uses that as an excuse to like. Although
Did I mention I went to Harvard?
I would love a scene later on of John Stamos fighting with his hand. Like, that would be a magical scene. Scream Queens, I hope you give it to me.
A Dr. Strangelove sort of moment where he's just... Yep. You know what I'm talking about.
It's really, or if he decides that his hand is getting out of line and goes all idle hands and is like, I have to remove my hand. Ah! You bastards, you dirty bastards, give me back my hand.
And then getting another hand from somewhere else and it being worse.
Ew. But yeah, so we have a little bit of his backstory, but still enough mystery to kind of leave us wondering a little bit. But
Taylor Lautner.
Exactly.
Taylor's just kind of hilariously nihilistic and very aware that he is attractive and doesn't really want much to do with that.
And also is cold. Just feels genuinely like ice.
At least
but
when you apply
I envy
warmth
ice.
to ice, it melts.
What a silly, wonderful line. I am so happy the show is back.
What angsty 8th grader slam poetry journal did you get that out of?
Probably the same one where Reaper is like an OC. All you Overwatch fans out there.
Reaper McEdgelord, baby's first Hot Topic original character.
Aww.
Original character, do not steal.
Aww. You're so cute. He's so cute.
I have no respect for Reaper. It's very funny.
So, it's great to see this cast. Let's be honest, because we got real excited when we got to Sax. So, like, if you haven't seen the Silver Screams Reacts episode that we did, looking at all these
we watched 3 different trailers.
We did, because we were excited. And because they were there.
And couldn't figure out which trailer to watch.
We really couldn't.
All of them.
Sorry, guys. I am awful.
Both is good.
Both is good. All 3 is good. Let's do that. So, it's great to see the Chanels back in form. And it's great to have John Stamos and Taylor Lautner here. And it's really great to have, Jamie Lee Curtis back as our pseudo-feminist...
Feminism is boring.
Antagonist, but not really, but still a murderer.
She's lawful evil.
That's a good way of putting it.
She might actually be neutral evil. I need to figure that out.
I don't know. Because she that's the thing to remember about all of this is she still murdered her husband. Very much so.
Covered up a death in the Kappa house.
She covered up a death in the Kappa house, murdered her husband, and went along.
Ruined the lives of those 3 girls who admittedly kind of caused the death of their sister, but nonetheless.
Well, and also ruined the lives of the Chanels, who, though awful, were innocent of the crime in question. She allowed Hester to go along with this, she let a murderer go with this charade because it was convenient for her.
Well, and because Hester had blackmail on her.
That's also true, because Hester had, dirt on evidence that proved that she murdered her husband.
Yeah.
But also, I think we also established that Dean Munch is also unkillable. So...
See, you say that.
You say that. Honestly, the killers tried to go after her. She beat the shit out of them. They tried to freeze her. They tried so many things to murder her, and she just kept.
She's the Highlander.
Going. No, you know what she is? She's Michael Myers' little sister. That's what she is, guys. Don't mess with
I like
Dean
her being
Munch.
the Highlander better. Can only be one.
I actually like
She
her.
would definitely murder the shit out of other people to keep herself alive. Let's be completely real here. She makes a very believable Highlander.
Well, and she also makes a believable Green Meanie.
Serial killer.
Yeah, exactly. Although,
But
granted, I
I
hesitate, yeah.
No reason. This program, this hospital, this everything would not exist without her. And if anything
And that's the
happened to
thing,
her,
yeah.
I feel like everything would just collapse like the house of cards it is.
And that's the thing.
So for now, I'm going to lay down the prediction that she's going to be safe for the foreseeable future. Until
Yeah.
mid-season finale, at least.
Now, here's the thing, yeah. I definitely think that she needs this hospital to work for one reason or another. Whether it's insurance, whether it's because she needs a family member who
Cured of something.
Or
Which is really sentimental for Dean Munch.
Yeah, or maybe, you know what it is?
What?
Maybe she has an incurable disease.
But I think if she does, it's going to be played off as something vague and kind of ridiculous.
Or not vague and very ridiculous. But
Yeah.
maybe she has, because she doesn't seem to have
Maybe her
many
incurable
loved ones.
disease is that she's unkillable.
She doesn't seem to have many loved ones, and she's also ruined so many people's lives. She only seems to care about herself. So she needs this hospital to work for one reason and one reason alone, and that's either financial or health related. And I see that if we're talking about not financial, because she has a fortune already,
Yeah.
I see it being health related, actually. So I see her needing this hospital to work. So I want to eliminate her as our initial suspect for the Green Meanie. That doesn't mean she won't commit murder later on down the road.
So yeah, initial suspect and safe for the time being.
Exactly.
These are all very temporary predictions.
And we haven't had a ton of new characters introduced because we have John Stamos, Taylor Lautner, and
the candy guy.
Candy Guy. he's gonna die. And
Or he's the murderer.
and Hoffman.
I would buy the hell out of that.
And Hoffel.
because-
Yeah.
Yeah. Because who takes an unpaid position? Like, buddy, you don't need college credit. You're too old for that. Maybe. I don't know. Just said candy striper, unpaid position, good disposition. The fact that he
Craigslist
rattled
ads.
off that Craigslist ad was really funny. But yeah, no, I can definitely see him in the suspect pool.
Or he's gonna be like the mascot from last season and just end up on the cutting room floor a couple episodes in. But
I mean, he's very charismatic, but he's also an idiot.
But like I said, we didn't get introduced to very many new characters. And returning characters, we have Dean Munch, Zayday, and the three Chanels.
True.
So, like, that's about the same size cast that we had initially, but at the same time, I'm looking at them and going, who's expendable, who's not, and who's believable as a villain?
Well, here's the thing. We also got a whole bunch of people in the first season where, you know, we had Deaf Taylor Swift and we had
cannon fodder.
but the
Lots
thing
of
is-
cannon
yes,
fodder.
but the thing is, in the hospital, we're focusing on these people, but there's a whole lot of other staff and medical students whom we haven't seen yet, who've just
That's
been
fair.
pattering around in the background, and there's an influx of patients. Here,
fair.
our first confirmed victim was our patient for the episode.
Who was
And so
a
if the
kind of
hospital-
werewolf person.
I feel so bad for her.
Yeah.
And so if the hospital starts developing this reputation of, yeah, it'll cure your disease, but then the murderer in the hospital will kill you, that could be a problem.
well, and again,
But I would definitely put every patient who comes in automatically in the victim pool.
yeah, and it creates the question of what is this killer's motive? Because everyone who donned the Red Devil mask last season had a different motive.
And actively worked against each other occasionally.
Occasionally. And at
Sure.
one point it was like, I'll do your bidding so that you don't kill me in this moment, sort of thing. And then, yeah, at one point one Red Devil killed another Red Devil who was her brother. And yeah,
As you freaking
and
do,
yeah,
I
that's
suppose.
another thing is what we show the security guard from last season who's now a FBI special agent. And
I love that.
I believe
love that so
Chad
much.
is coming back later on. I think I saw one or two promos with him. I might be
Okay.
mistaken. But so we have those two coming back, and of course we have Hester later on down the line. I hope we get her soon because I really want to know how she got her eye back.
She never lost it.
Yeah, she did though. She just didn't. It didn't injure herself in a way that like damaged her brain.
She had
in
the
any
eye
way?
patch, but it was still recovering. She got the shoe in between the eye and
Lucky gal, because that could have been terrible.
Well, no, she talked about how she'd done the research. She knew the correct angle and amount of force and all that stuff. Like, she knew how to put it so that it looked terrible, but wouldn't do any irreparable damage.
Which and again,
but okay.
yeah, again, you can hand wave it for the sake of TV and for the sake of Ryan Murphy TV.
So yeah, she was wearing the eye patch for the sake of, that's what you do when you have an eye injury to keep from irritating it or making it worse. You wear the patch. So she didn't lose it.
Bringing her in, though, is going to be very interesting. I'm going to go ahead and write her off and say it's not her, because her story
is over,
or her motivation for murder is done. So I'm sure she'll definitely kill someone somewhere down the line, but I don't see her being this initial Green Meanie. And who knows, it's entirely possible that someone will kill her before this season is out.
If she comes back, and I'm putting that as an if, because I wouldn't
No, she is. She is coming back.
Do we have confirmation?
We have confirmation.
Well, I missed that. I would not be above immediately putting her in the victim pool. I can see her as a spanner in the works. I don't see her putting the mask back on.
I can also see her and the Chanels reluctantly teaming up. The kind of sad thing is that, like, even though she's a terrible murderer, her story arc was complete, and she had her family at the end of season 1. And now, because she's an idiot, all that's out the window. So Grace and, her dad just right out the window.
Kind of hoping that Grace and her dad just don't come back.
Yeah, just
take a break.
Just
Run
live your
away, go
life,
upstate.
be happy. But she, the thing that she always craved for, she had and has now lost. So it will be very interesting.
Hubris.
Yeah, exactly. It will be very interesting when she ultimately comes back in, which, not sure. Probably as an incurable, insane person, but not sure how she's going to come back. But when she does, it's going to be very interesting to see how she, Zayday, and the Chanels all interact with one another, because she's a murderer, the Chanels are awful, and Zayday is the one person trying her damnedest to do good in the world, who also has this sort of sisterhood to these other awful people. So
I think she thought she was going to have some form of authority over them because she is actually going through medical school and has some knowledge. And the thing is, the experimental treatment made logical sense. And the ass pull of a thing that somehow worked didn't at all. Because another doctor should have looked at, or if she's been to hundreds of doctors, at some point someone should have looked at the diet and went, hey.
You know what her problem was?
What?
She didn't go to House. God. She didn't go to House. House would have immediately been like, well, it's not lupus.
Or lycanthropy. I guess. God. Oh.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, even though it was a silly, outlandish disease that they gave her, pseudo disease, I assume.
I think it's a thing, but I don't think it ever gets, again, I could be talking out my ass here. I think it's a thing. I don't think it gets quite that extreme in real life.
We record these right after we watch. We weren't Googling it as we watch. So, shrug. And we're not medical students.
No.
Sorry.
I have an English degree.
I have a telecommunications degree, which, as they pointed out, is a communications degree is one of the easier things to get. So, woo. But anyway, so we have her, and I did feel bad for her, but I loved the, throwback Wolfman, old school Wolfman design.
Yeah.
Of, her disorder.
And I feel so bad because this weird, ridiculous, holistic, actually, cure worked. And then she got a makeover, and then she got put down and then killed anyway. And I just
pointed out, kill her! She's awful!
And I just feel super bad for her.
Honestly, I tend to feel bad for her too. But she's also the person that said, kill her, she's awful.
That's true.
So chances are she probably wasn't that great of a person to begin with. But talking about callbacks to season 1, This is very reminiscent of Death Taylor Swift's death. Wow, that was a lot harder to say than I thought it would be.
Lawnmower.
Yeah, with the lawnmower, because all the girls were buried up to their necks, and then, you know, she got decapitated. And so it makes, talking about callbacks to season 1, having the first official kill of the season be a decapitation of this character is a very interesting callback. So I'm wondering how many of the story beats from season 1 they plan on bringing to season 2, because horror is a very interesting genre to make a franchise of, because sometimes, very rarely, you can take a really great horror film and then jump off of that to do your own thing. Like, I'm thinking the Alien franchise. Alien to Aliens is a wonderful example of
But it also
taking a
switches
thing.
genre.
It does, to an action
Aliens
movie.
is an action movie.
Yes, that's very true. But it also, it does progress the story. It uses aliens as a jumping, it uses Alien as a starting block and jumps off and creates its own thing and progresses the story and progresses the character arcs and everything like that.
Scream.
That's, yes, but
Not
also,
the TV series, the movie series.
yes, but also no.
Scream 3.
Yes. Because a lot of horror things get kind of wrapped up in being like, and this is something you can say about franchises in general, is they get wrapped up in going, hey, remember that thing from the first movie that you really loved? We're going to do it again! And sometimes that works, but you really do, again, and that's why I think Alien and Aliens is like the perfect dual movie or the perfect set of sequels, because it's like, here's this thing, it's a self-contained story, and then the sequel uses that and like jumps off and creates its own thing and makes it better. And I really worry about things that worry too much about callbacks. And I love callbacks, but at the same time I'm like, don't be afraid to do your own thing.
I think they already are at this point. I don't think decapitation was too much of a straight...
Well, there are a few other things. I mean, we already talked about them, but yeah.
But they're also establishing season 2 of a continuous TV series. Like, I'm willing to allow a good chunk of that for... Well, remember these people, remember this situation, we've had a year or a year and a half or however many, this is how we're doing the thing.
Well, and I also worry about how long they can continue this one story if there's a new costumed killer every season.
Evidently, a lot of horrible things happened in the 1980s. So if we just keep mining that well...
Like I said, I want to go to a camp next season. Can we go to a camp next season? That'd be super.
Yeah, let's all just trundle on down to Crystal Lake.
Yay! Can we? No. Oh, that'd be the best.
No.
So...
Remember to bring your mom's sweater. Jason, I'm very disappointed in you.
Just knitted on the sweater? That'd be hilarious.
Oh,
actually.
isn't that what they do in the second one?
The second one, yeah.
Yeah.
She doesn't say I'm disappointed with you. She puts the sweater on and basically says like, "Hey, you're doing great. Just
That's right.
need you to not murder me in this exact moment right now." Enough to confuse him.
Yeah.
Anywho, so I feel like we've touched on probably most of what we have to say on this episode. Like,
yeah.
We talked about Zayday, we talked about the characters that aren't coming back, we talked about Dean Munch, we talked about the new characters.
Let me put it this way. I'm out of liquor.
As am I.
Okay, that's it. Episode's over. Good night, everyone.
No, so ultimately, I think this is a really good start to the rest of the season. And I'm really looking forward to it because I've missed this show a lot. And I'm really glad that we're in the fall, because the fall is when all my wonderful horror TV shows come back.
The fall is when all of the shows come back.
Which is unfortunate.
All of the shows.
Because, again, our schedule is going to be crazy. So
completely batshit insane.
Kind of a disclaimer.
Bear with us.
This is, we're lucky that we get to film today. to do
not
this
next
episode.
month.
For an episode that aired on what, Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Oh, Lord. This is going to be hard, guys.
Well,
we're going
that's
to do our
because
best.
Wednesday we had things.
We did. We had things on Wednesday. We had things on Thursday.
It's her birthday.
It was.
On Wednesday.
And again, this show was given to us, so happy birthday to me. It was great. But yeah, so we had a lot of things this week. And so hopefully next week we'll be a little bit quicker on the uptake to get this episode out.
We'll see.
We'll see. No promises, because we've got, we've already talked about it on MTV Scream recaps, but we've got Z Nation, we've got other AfterBuzz shows, we have our own lives to live, so we're going to try to do our best to get these episodes up as quickly as possible, but again, no guarantees. Hopefully we won't fall behind as badly as we did with Scream this summer.
But we moved in the middle of summer.
We did.
As you can tell by the different backdrop.
So again, we're going to do our best.
A little different.
We're going to do our best to keep up to date on Scream Queens. And also, we just don't want to get spoiled, too. I don't want to know who the Green Meanie is until they reveal who the Green Meanie is.
Gobsmacked that none of y'all spoiled us for Scream. Oh my god.
Well done.
Super grateful.
Well done.
I was spoiled for exactly 0 things for Scream. And that is just mind-blowing.
And it was funny. I thought I was spoiled for something, and then it turned out I wasn't. So good job. Good job, everyone.
Dang.
I'm
We
very,
love you guys.
very proud.
You know we do. We love you guys.
Yes. And so I'm very much looking forward to this show because it takes a little bit more of a comedic stance, an overtly comedic stance than Scream does. So initial thoughts. Last thing we want to lay out before we wrap up. Who do we think the Green Meanie is at this point? Granted, we haven't been introduced to all the characters.
I don't even want to start guessing for that yet.
I was gonna say
I was a little burned out by the whole who's in the grave thing for Arrow last season, to the point where it's just
Fair
like
enough.
I don't even want to do it till we start getting some evidence or something. I don't
indicate who it could be,
or even just start thinning the suspect pool. Just like I just don't want to do it. Not yet.
Fair enough.
We're in episode 1 of like 22-ish maybe, and I don't want to do it yet.
How great would it be if Grace went crazy and it was Grace?
Oh my fucking god.
That would be real funny.
I still like my theory of a family of killers.
That
There
would be
is
great
zero
too.
evidence for it.
That would be great
But
too.
I like it.
If I were to make my initial guess, I would say Hoffel. That being said, I know that's not right.
If Hoffel runs this hospital, she has a lot to lose by being a killer.
Well, and also if she's the head
hospital.
nurse,
Yeah.
you know, it would be against her moral fiber to murder patients. So, like, again, just, I know that that's wrong, but that's my initial thought right now. So anyway, I guess that's it for the first episode of Scream Queens. And it's so much fun to be talking about the show again. Katie, where can people go if they want to keep up with you?
You can find me on Twitter and YouTube at Kiaxet. That is Kiaxet. If you want to see us react live to things and see us laugh and occasionally cry at things, that is where those reaction videos live.
All of the tears. It's fine. But I'm Megan. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at the Menguin. That's TheMenguin. Be sure to follow Silver Screams at Silver_Screams. Like us on Facebook, all that jazz. We want to know, who do you guys think is the Green Meanie this season? Is it a literal swamp monster? Or is it somebody that we've seen in a previous season?
We want your best ridiculous fanfiction theories on what Grace and her father are doing.
Ooh, and I want to know what Chad's up to. What's Chad doing these days?
What's Chad doing?
Exactly. So
I'm just imagining Hester having like a little Gideon sort of thing with her cellmates. You know?
You might have to explain that to anybody who
Gravity
doesn't
Falls.
watch Gravity Falls.
You need to watch it. It's amazing. I will not explain it. You need to go watch that show.
That's a fact. So thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you all next time. He seriously,
Little me.
little me. He seriously looks like the fucking things from Goosebumps.
Yeah, I know.
They really do.
The budget hasn't gotten much better since it came back from Canada.
But dumb tish.
Hey.